What is it that you would say excites you the most about working in government as a BA?
I get to do something impactful and far-reaching, and this includes improvements in services that are existing or implement new ones. And that's not just for the departments and government, but also for the general public.
This is a disclaimer to say that this episode was recorded before the elections in the UK government in July 2024. But don't worry, we're not here to talk about politics. We're here to talk about business analysis in the world of government. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Inside Business Analysis podcast. I'm your host, Tanner Jacobs, and today I am joined with Matt Sutherland-Patman. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, actually. It's we've had a beautiful weekend. I went to a family wedding, and it was my first experience with a newborn going to a wedding. So it's been a lovely weekend. We're now ready for another week.
Oh, that sounds great. And what a blessing to have a newborn, being able to go to a wedding and still enjoy it and not have any big mishaps in that experience. So yeah, that's great to hear. So Matt, I'm really excited for our conversation today. You know, you're currently a senior business analyst at the Cabinet Office, which is a government office in the United Kingdom. And you've been according to my understanding, you've been in the BA space now for almost 10 years. And you've kind of spent across various places: energy, finance, insurance, recruitment, and central government now. So a very broad range there. And in central government, I believe you've been there for 4 or 5 years, something along those lines.
Just gone over 5 years now.
Awesome. Yeah. And you're managing a team of BAs in the government business services, which is super fun. And on top of that, you're also the founder of the Cabinet Office Business Analysis Community of Practice, which is great. And I think you've got over 30 members or something in that community of practice. That's really, really incredible stuff there, Matt. If you think back to kind of your BA career so far anyway, how would you kind of sum it up in your words? What are the main thing that you'd say has been a highlight for you?
I think the highlight for me is that with each opportunity and each career change has provided me with an extra drive to do something a little bit different. As you mentioned, a couple of different roles that I've worked in the past have been very varied. My first role was as an SME for an energy company on a project that was due to be an 8-week secondment with a little bit of travel. It turned into an 18-month secondment with a lot of travel from Bristol up to Perth in Scotland. So that was a very big eye-opener. We were working in a waterfall methodology, ended up going back to design, refocusing the requirements, and in effect kind of starting again. But the platform was already built, so we had to try and develop and evolve the business to meet the new product. From that, I then went back to working and training the rest of the team. Very shortly after that, I applied for my first BA role, and then kind of then started from there. So as you mentioned, I've worked in a couple of different environments, and each one has given me a bit more experience. It's given me more to work on myself, and then I'm able to, with all of that, have a more rounded toolkit that I can then either support those that work for me directly or provide support to those around me. So I think that's something that I do enjoy most about the job that I do.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's great to hear. And, so right now you're working in central government, which Cabinet Office, and that sounds really exciting. I guess for me it does, because when I think about a central office, or at least Cabinet Office and central government, that's kind of where the big decisions are made. That's where the big things happen and occur in from a kind of a state and public sector perspective. What's it like working as a business analyst in such an environment?
It's in a way, I mean, see, we don't regularly get exposure to any ministers or secretaries of state. As exciting as it sounds that I'm working for the Cabinet Office, I think that there's a lot more credence around the fact that of where we work. It is an environment for development. It's an environment where we are providing a service for our users, whether that be external general public or whether that be internal, so your civil servants. I'm in a fortunate position that I worked with our SCS, the senior civil servant, and the now new CDIO, the Chief Digital Info Officer, for a couple of years, and he's been incredibly supportive, and he's a massive advocate for the business analysis profession. That being said, not getting exposure, there is a project that I did work on, which was the Great Place to Work for Veterans, which was when I was on the recruitment transformation team, where I did have direct involvement with Lord Agnew. It wasn't particularly long, nor was it an ongoing, but the project itself was alongside the role that I was doing. Did that for a month or two, and it was to implement the change to the recruitment process, which, for those that aren't aware, there's a lot of talent and transferable skills for people within the armed forces. So when they do leave the armed forces, we're giving them a potential opportunity to develop and continue their career within the civil service. So any veteran who meets the minimum criteria of a job application or a vacancy will progress to the next level. It's whether that be the interview or an online test, whatever's the next phase. But then that itself, it just provides you with a door. You still need to prove you're worthy, prove that you have that capability. So all appointments are still going to be on merit per se. Now, kind of at my level, we don't really have that interaction or the engagement. But I suppose the closest that we do is kind of like, spend controls and sign off, especially if you're dealing with a project which is hundreds of thousands or millions. You're going to need somebody that's going to sign that off. And we are a government body. There needs to be oversight because ultimately it's a public funded money. So you have to still go through that process. So that's kind of the engagement. It's not necessarily something that I get involved with myself, but I deal quite heavily with the business case, with the development of the projects and the analysis that goes into that. As you said, working for the Cabinet Office, yes, it's exciting because we get to do some good stuff, but then you get to do some good stuff elsewhere as well. So it's a bit of a mixture, really.
Yeah, which is really great, actually, and I think it's being able to link the work that you're doing to kind of that feel good factor. I mean, being able to see, for example, the veterans project that you were just mentioning there, and being able to point to that as a project that you were part of is probably quite exciting and probably quite thrilling as well, right? In your role as a BA, can you touch on maybe? Thinking about that, what is it that you would say excites you the most about working in government as a BA?
I kind of lightly touched on it. It's the opportunity that I get to do something impactful and far-reaching, and this includes kind of improvements in services that are existing, or implement new ones, and that's not just for the departments and government, but also for the general public. One of the projects that I'm working on at the moment is it's a large program of work which has got three larger projects within it. So one is the Government Skills Campus, which is enabling the civil service to identify skills and learning gaps, so it can meet the business needs and help employees to understand and enhance their skills, so they themselves can reach their full potential. And it also provides them with kind of targeted learning and potential career development opportunities. We've also got the staff transfers process. So when you move from department to department, you go through the whole HR, pensions, your learning record, everything else then kind of closes down and then reopens, because in essence, each department is its own company, its own organization. So we're trying to smooth that process when you move roles. making it a little bit faster, simpler, more consistent, and a better user experience. And then finally, it's the integration hub and a central ID for everyone within the service is the aim, and that provides, as I mentioned, the single ID, but it also connects data to different systems through integration technology that should provide it in a seamless and error-free way, so it's more secure. There's protection against that data, and with all of those three projects kind of working at the moment, we feel that it's going to improve how we react to national emergencies. So for example, EU exit, they needed to resource and identify people who have specific skills. You don't know where they are, so you have to. We've got this database potentially that would provide you with that, and then mobilizing people. So, like EU exit, Brexit, the COVID crisis, everyone remembers that, and obviously the Ukraine more recently. So it's providing a better way of working for government, makes it more efficient. And I think the team that are working at the moment has come together kind of in 2002, 2001 on the back of COVID. And we're spread across the country, and we were all online at the time. And we all bring our own experiences, cultures, and it's kind of formed one of the best teams that I've worked with. Really collaborative, really supportive, and it includes a deputy director who really understands the importance of what we're trying to do, especially within the BA space. He's encouraged me to do a lot more than what I was originally recruited for, which was to manage a team and to help with the alignment of those projects. I've kind of done a little bit of job crafting, so community of practice, formed that. I volunteer at the IIBA, a mentor through the IIBA. There's a cross-company allyship program. I co-host the Babok study group through the IIBA. That's with James Compton, the IIBA director of development, Pip Hall, who's the BA of the year, and Imtiaz Kadaboy. He's a renowned coach and BA trainer. We've built a theoretical kind of case study over the last 6 months or so, and we walk a BA through the process from discovery through to development and full release. So we've gone through the discovery, what skills were required, what techniques we're going to use, stakeholder management, retros. We're currently working on requirements at the moment, and it kind of form a workshop where instead of us kind of PowerPointing, this is how you do it, we kind of build a platform space that people can use when you join, and you go away into little workshops, into little breakout rooms, and then you go through it. So you actually role play, which is something that we've been doing. It's all because of the line managers, that you can do something, you can develop yourself and others as well as doing your job. And without those opportunities, it wouldn't be as exciting doing what I do. Not that the job isn't, because it is. What we can influence is fantastic, and it's just provided additional opportunities to grow as a person as well, which I'm eternally grateful for.
Incredible stuff, though, Matt. And we'll come back to the stuff that you mentioned that you're doing with the IIBA a little bit later on, which is exciting, and I definitely want to dive into that. But just kind of thinking about kind of working at central government, you mentioned quite a range of projects earlier on, right? Some projects are kind of more kind of looking at the internal processes with staff. Other projects are looking at kind of the way the government's run, and other things are looking at kind of the public in itself. Thinking of a business analyst who would be interested, for instance, to get into government as a business analyst, what skills or qualities would you say are kind of necessary for them to really succeed as a BA in this environment?
That's quite a tough one, and the reason for that is that each role that I recruit for is potentially slightly different, namely because at the moment, the Cabinet Office, you're recruited specifically for a project. However, what we do is a general base is that we recruit, look for specific or certain behaviours and technical skills. So within the civil service, we use something called success profiles and the skills framework, DDAP. And what that does is it provides a standard approach for all recruitment, so it's open and fair. The last round of recruitment I did, like changing and influencing, and then kind of your technical skills, business analyst, agile, requirements management, that sort of thing. That might not necessarily be based on the stage in which your project is at. You might not need those skills. So it's quite varied with the recruitment. I suppose the best way to do that is whatever you're asked for, do your research into success profiles. It's on gov.uk website. Understand what the technical skill and the behaviour that the recruiting manager is looking for, and then provide your response in STAR format. So you've got your situation, you've got your task, your action, and then your result. Tailor your application to something like that. So it's situational. Outside of that, what do I look for personally is someone pretty much who's just curious and adaptable. Within the civil service, as I mentioned, there's a potential where you could be working in a variety of projects. So if you're recruited into one, you've rolled it out, you either then potentially stay on a live service, or the project rolled up and you move on to do something else, and then there's always something going on. So that could be, as I said, transformation, it could be live service. I personally think it's good to be a generalist BA rather than someone who's focused in one area of expertise. Having someone who's got a lot within their toolkit, someone who's adaptable. You've got new ideas and you challenge that status quo, got to do it tactfully, of course, because you're dealing with people who've been doing things for specific years and are very experienced. But just because a team's been doing something the same way doesn't mean it's the best way. It's something they've been doing all the time. There could be more efficient ways, but sometimes there's a reason why they're doing it that way. So again, you don't just go in and go, yeah, this is so much better. You've got to understand, is that you've got to tell my community and my team is that you've got to analyze the situation. You've got to be adaptable to what you face. It could be something new. It could just be a procedural change. It could be, you're doing the best you can right now. It could be anything.
Yeah. So the success profiles, there's a government kind of, I guess, skills framework that explains the different parts of a BA role and the levels of that role, and then you can use that, I guess, as an assessment of where you are. It's also a good thing to probably refer to for just professional development as a whole, right?
Yes.
Just kind of looking at that and saying, I'm currently at maybe, I don't know, level 2, and I need to do XYZ to get to level 3 or level 4. So yeah, I think that's it. That's a good shout. I'll put the link to that in the show notes, so there's actually people can check it out. And on the flip side, what would you say are some of the challenges, or common challenges, should I say? So you have the projects may determine the type of business analyst you're looking for, but what would you say are some of the common challenges of working in central government in general that your team typically faces, or somebody coming into your team would be kind of expected to overcome?
Yeah, the typical challenges is that you've got a service or a project that is currently running at the moment that either the service is coming to the end of its contract, and it needs to either go through a procurement procedure or a process in which to either review existing provider and potential alternatives, or it might just be that you're coming to the end of its shelf life, and you need to implement something brand new. Alternatively, it's an improvement on existing service, so you need to kind of go through a change process that enables an adaptation to that current service, or it, for example, if we got a live service, it might just be small incremental improvements to it that allows that service to be a little bit more efficient. Now, the recruitment that I mentioned earlier, I worked with the civil service jobs team. one of the aspects that we looked after was the live service requests change process. So because the ATS, the applicant tracker, is engaged with and it's used by multiple departments. I think it's around about 70-80% of government. Each department has something slightly different. They do it in a slightly different way. So if they change something or they request something that changes for them, that could be a benefit to them. However, upstream could be a potential problem for other users. So is it something that would be implementable for them? What's the cost of that change? What are the impacts of trying to implement something? So it's a continual understanding of, is it something you actually need? Is it a button that you request? Or is it that you've got a bottleneck and you actually just need to change your resource? Or is it a genuine improvement that we can implement that not only would benefit you, but would benefit other users as well? So there's a lot of understanding that needs to be done in that space. But then you've also got your larger projects that run to your tens of millions that information can be quite impactful across that government space. So there's generally always something going on.
Yeah. Sounds like an exciting one for sure. And one thing as well that I've actually come across quite a bit is, and there's one I'll come across it on job adverts for BA roles in government. Obviously, not every single one of them, but quite a number of them do mention a kind of GDS and kind of having an understanding or an awareness of it, or maybe even have worked within government in the past on the GDS part. Are you able to maybe just give us a brief explanation of what GDS is and how does that impact kind of the BA role? Or link to the BA role?
So within the Cabinet Office, within kind of that central government, I'll go a step higher. So you've got CDDO, which is the Central Digital Data Office. They're the function who set and, like a better word, police the standards of digital services and the skills framework. Underneath them is GDS. So that's the government digital service. So they work underneath them and they deliver the citizen-facing services on behalf of government departments. Recently, going to be working under the COD, which is the Cabinet Office Digital Directorate, which the Cabinet owned the technology business unit, delivering those solutions for Cabinet Office and for the functions working within it. And kind of GDS look after a series of different things. Okay, so first of all, you've got design principles. So they're kind of the principles that guide us when we're creating those government services. So that's kind of your standard gov.uk website. You know, that they've got the black banner at the top of the title and potentially the branding. You've got the standard fonts, the white background, the links that work in the same way, the same format through and through. And it kind of provides you with that confidence that you're dealing with the government. DVLA websites, your passport office, that sort of thing. It's all the same thing. It's design principles. They also do kind of the service standards. So when you're working through a project, and you're kind of progressing through, you go through when you go through your phases. So you've got your discovery, your alpha, your build, your beta, that sort of thing. What it does do, you kind of run through a service assessment, and it just checks that what you're providing is kind of ensuring that it's designed consistently and it's got the user's needs, accessibility, it's inclusive. It was also providing a return on investment. A lot of these projects potentially are using a lot of public funding. So you need to ensure that it's viable and that there is a problem and that you're proposing a solution to that actual problem. They also got prototype kits, they've got design systems, service manuals. So all this basically is the guidance that we adhere to when we're providing a service to people, whether that be internal stuff, or whether it be something that the general public would use through, for example, gov.uk. There's quite a bit of stuff. And there's a lot of governance that you need to go through. And kind of part of that is designed through the GDS side of things.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. I think that's actually a very clear explanation of it, and I can definitely see the link to why when the business analyst job descriptions are kind of saying that awareness is required, or it would be really useful because, as you said, it pretty much governs the way in which we're kind of developing and designing the solutions within the projects that we're working in. So certainly makes sense, and it's needed because, as you said, I would want the confidence that I'm on the right website if I'm going to be looking at something that's government related. Because unfortunately, there is a lot of scamming out there, isn't there? So yeah, having those design standards being kept and upheld, that's a really key thing there. Okay.
On that, actually, you mentioned about websites. One thing to always check is the footer and the information that's stored within that and the source in which it's come from, but also the URL. We always use a specific design for the URL for websites. There'll be more information on gov.uk about that. So, and alongside that, is how to have confidence in the website that you are using.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So thinking back to about, 4 or 5 years ago before you joined central government, I'm assuming you hadn't had any experience in the government world prior to joining, right? So how did you find that transition from non-government private world to then coming into government, and what was that like for you?
I've worked in various industries, as I mentioned, over the years, from finance, asset management, insurance, energy, and obviously central government. Each one is always going to be slightly different based on what their focus and what their kind of priorities are, whether it be managing money, earning money, or providing a service in a different way. So it's going to be a slightly different culture. And government is no different from that. It's got its feel, and that generally is about providing a service and providing the best possible service that we can do. The work itself is fundamentally, if not the same, very similar for BAs. We still do discovery, we still analyse, we build requirements, we assess stakeholder needs. We work with development teams internally, or we use suppliers externally, and we deliver solutions or process improvements for the project that you're on. So in that sense, yes, it's different because culturally it's different, and how we work and what we need to go through is different. But in essence, what we do on a day-to-day is pretty much the same. I suppose the biggest difference is, as I kind of touched on earlier, is the governance side around the projects. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of steps that we need to go through, and justifiably so. As I've said, we need to ensure that what we're doing is appropriate. We do our due diligence when spending hundreds of thousands or even millions, as I said, on projects. Some go into the hundreds of millions. None that I've worked on so far, but I have been aware of some. And we need to make sure that there's, as I said, that there is a problem, and then we are working on solving that problem. There needs to be a viable solution. It's not just spending for the sake of spending, and that there is going to be a return on investment, because sometimes you can fix something, but if it's going to be more expensive, you've got to value. Is it cost effective to do that? Does the benefit outweigh the cost? And is it going to provide a service that's going to be usable? Without that, we shouldn't really be pushing for something and implementing something without it. So that for me was the biggest change and difference. And potentially because of that, the speed of the projects, it can take a while to get you from that initial kind of thought process where you build your initial business case to we've now got this on board and we're now then delivering something. It can take a bit of time because we're going through the process. Contract negotiations, the procurement can take a while. For the same reason, you're recruiting in essentially a supplier that you're going to be working with potentially for 15 years, depending on the life of the project, that you kind of have 5-year cycles for for contracts, and then you kind of potentially either roll them or you look to procure and make sure you're still getting the best deal and the best product. So potentially you're dealing with these for long periods of time. So you've got to make sure that the contract is right. You've got to make sure that the supply is right. Whereas potentially in the private sector, it's a case of let's go and do this. And then you kind of implement something and go, it's not right. Can it? Start again. Let's go over here. And it's not that simple within government. So we do need to be careful and we need to make sure that what we're doing is right, essentially.
Of course. Absolutely. Love that. Love that. So pivoting now to kind of the other bits that you mentioned earlier that you were also involved in. So one of those is the business analysis community practice at the Cabinet Office.
Yeah.
What was the driving force behind that? What was it that led you to kind of start that, and what was your vision behind it?
The reason I started it was that I've worked in the past with project squads. I've worked as the lone BA in a whole company. Not only was I the BA, but I also kind of did the requirements. I did some of the design, and then I then tested it. So not only did I design the homework, I did the homework, and then I marked it. So, and because occasionally I'm then the only person that's doing it, it can be quite isolating. I've worked essentially in silos, and I've worked in environments that have been really supportive. And when I came to the Cabinet Office, I had worked with a couple of BAs, and it was a really good environment. And then when I got my own team, I wanted to ensure that not only was I getting the support I needed, because I'm not going to know everything and I'm still learning. I'm always learning, but also that the BAs that worked for me knew that they could go to anyone. It wasn't just support from me, and it wasn't just support from their team. They needed to have that experience of outside of the team. So I originally created just a small group, which was my media team and then a sister team on another project, another directorate. And then it just slowly grew. Someone they know I know would be over here, great, get them involved. And it just kind of expanded, started off word of mouth. And it's just kind of evolved from there. So we're always looking to expand. I think we're now at just shy of 40. And we're reaching out wider into the Cabinet Office. Always looking for new members. So if there's anyone listening or watching that wants to join us, then please reach out. I'll give Thando a way of contacting me. It's the kind of the reason and what we aim to do is a supportive group of BAs where we can share ideas, we can collectively problem solve, and we can discuss best practices. We've got a number of BAs in our department with varying knowledge and experience, right? So you've got some that work in isolation and the only analysis resource within their teams. I don't have fields, so I wanted to make sure that they had that peer support. And my goal for the community is to provide not only those analysts, but anyone with the support and the guidance that they need to deliver for their respective teams. We share best approaches, document templates, training support, and most importantly is that peer support for any live project related topics. If you've got a problem, you come to the community. Whatever topic we had planned gets put to one side, and that's our priority. It's you've got something live, let's deal with it. That's whether it's in one of our sessions or it's on an ad hoc basis. Is that the community know that they can reach not only me but anyone else within the community, and we've had that numerous occasions. Sometimes it's just a bit of a show and tell. This is what I'm working on. And that's kind of where one of the key benefits that we're getting from this is the networking aspect, knowing what each other is working on. And it's that better project awareness. So you kind of like kind of highlights a few crossovers, because we're all working within the same space, kind of. That there's going to be some crossover, and unless you identify those, we could both be working the same thing from two different angles. And we've had that with the skills platform that I mentioned. Someone was working from it from a slightly different angle. So it's right, our teams are now collaborating through a network, and the kind of the network isn't just within our little space. It's been running for nearly 3 years now, and I'd love to say, and I do say, that they've received lots of compliments, and that's kind of from members themselves, but also from their teams and their stakeholders, and they're the ones that are really kind of secondhand benefiting from it. So them coming to us and providing us with feedback is fantastic. A few other professions have seen what we've been doing, and they formed their own community as well to model it on what we've done, which again is fantastic. Kind of outside of the community, I'm part of a cross-government BA leaders forum where BA managers across government are coming together to discuss topics like, skills framework. We talked about DDAP, providing a consistent approach for role advertising, vacancies, job specs, and kind of the future of our profession and where we want to take it. Through this and an external BA network, I've built quite strong relationships with other BAs and other heads of BAs. For example, Ian Tidmarsh at Justice Digital and Karen Newnham, a kind of Coal Authority. As we're all government, we kind of share a bit more best practices of how we approach different things, and in an attempt to kind of provide a bit of consistency with our standards. And the hope is that we can kind of come together for future engagement between our respective communities and kind of have that, you join ours, I'll join yours, we can maybe do a big event and that sort of thing. It's all about that collaborative working across government. Just because you work in different departments doesn't mean you need to work in isolation.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the last 3 years. That's certainly a long time to be running a community of practice that is still thriving and still growing. So yeah, congratulations on that. Really exciting stuff that you mentioned as well about the government BA managers kind of forum there. Now, I've got one question that I want to ask, which I'll save that for the last one. But earlier on, you also mentioned that you're doing some sort of IIBA real live training kind of thing where people join and they go through. I'm assuming it might be like a dummy project or something where they go through each iteration or each cycle of the project and learn on the as part of that. Is that the case? Is that how it works?
Exactly that. Yeah.
And is this for, who's this primarily for? Is this for people who want to get into business analysis, people who are already BAs and want to grow, or pretty much anybody?
It's anybody. We've got people who are interested in becoming BAs, who are coming in and engaging with the wider group. We've got some members who have been BAs and established BAs. And heads of who are coming in, and it's not only are they learning, because I'm learning with what we're doing, and I'm finding new ways to do different things. It's like there's a book, 123 different techniques. How many do we actually use? Well, 6, 7. There's a lot. You've got a toolkit, right? And this is just expanding on that, showing different ways to do something. I create a Miro board that provides a template on the outcomes for the scenario that we've built for that week. It's a potential way to do it. It's not you have to do it this way. Each breakout group can go, we want to do it a different way. We've done something else. Go for it. It's just a way of coming up with a an example that people can use. So we've got people that are brand new, some that aren't particularly experienced and trying to learn more things, and we've got people who are helping us by being leaders within each of the breakouts that are helping us with leading each of those sessions. So that they can guide the conversation, they can help, they can bring other people in, because there's four of us, primarily kind of two at a time, that are doing it. We can't be in every breakout room. We've averaged between about 90 to 140 different attendees in our sessions, which can be quite challenging to manage when there's, like I said, 3 or 4 of us in there. So we have people who are leading each of the breakout rooms. So we've designed this way of working that provides the attendees it's a theoretical example, but they're gaining real world experience by running through it with other people that want to achieve the same thing. We've approached a non-government BA community of practice to see if we can turn this into a in-person event. So we're having a chat about trying maybe do that in person. I believe that we're going to be doing something similar during the IRM conference later this year. I unfortunately won't be able to attend. We got dates mixed up, so I can't attend. But we've agreed a bit. We've got a workshop scheduled in. It will be loosely based on this concept, which quite exciting. Yeah, it's different. We haven't seen anything like this in the industry at the moment out there, of providing training, providing coaching and mentoring through this type of way of working. So we're quite excited by it.
Definitely sounds exciting. And how can people listen to this thinking, I need this? How do they join? How do they sign up? Where do they go?
Go on to IIBA website, go to events, and it is the Babok study. I think we're in quarter 2 at the moment. The next session, I believe, is going to be in 3 weeks' time. So we just need to get that date up on the website.
Cool. So yeah, I will see if there is a link I can put in the show notes. If not, definitely follow Matt's direction there on the website. That's pretty cool, man. And congrats to you and the team for doing this. It is definitely something I haven't seen, or if it does exist, it's not as widely known, or it's not something I guess anybody can join.
If anyone wants to link, if they search for me on LinkedIn, I post quite regularly about it, which provides instruction on how to find and how to join and register.
Yeah, cool. No, we'll definitely put your LinkedIn URL on the show notes so people can connect with you as well. So that'd be great. So Matt, this has been really insightful conversation. First of all, thank you for sharing with us your wisdom, your knowledge, and your insights into, working in government as a business analyst and all the world and everything that's involved in that. And also the other things that you're part of and other work that you're also doing in the BA space is really incredible to hear about. And I'm really, really, I'm really, really glad that we had this conversation because there's so much happening that it's good to give it a voice, kind of say this is what's going on, this is what's happening. So I'm really, really happy that I spoke to you, Matt.
Thank you for the invite.
No, it's a pleasure. So earlier on you mentioned as part of this BA government managers forum that you speak about a lot of things, and one of the things that you mentioned you speak about is the future of business analysis and the future of that skills profile and things like that. So my last question to you, Matt, is what when you think about the future of the profession of business analysis, and this can be in government or it can be in general, up to you. What would you say is kind of something that you are really excited about the BA profession the future of the BA profession?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And I think that the future of business analysis, and I think the future of technology and software development and such forth is a really fascinating one. And I think we've kind of at it at the really, really exciting period of time. There've been some key developments in history. I think that AI is the buzz right now. It's about where are we going to take it, what and how are we going to be part of it. I do firmly believe that it's not going to replace. It's not going to replace business analysis, but it's going that the ones that will, and I don't want to say the word survive, but those that are going to really thrive in the industry are those that are going to learn how to adapt and use AI for the better. And I think that it's going to be really interesting. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know enough about AI to really throw my weight around on that one, only that I know it's going to be quite impactful. And I'm going to be trying to understand and learn as much in that topic as possible so that I can be part of it rather than be blown away by it. I think that we mentioned before, we need to be adaptable, and whether that be to add additional skill set to what we do, whether that to be incorporating service design into it, be more generalist, rather than focusing on just I'm a technical BA or I'm a digital BA or something like that. Be accepting to the fact that what you're going to be doing is varied, and I think, to be frank, it's got to be something that you are going to look for in the future. I think within government, I think that with what I'm doing, I'm looking at formalizing the community to become a profession. I've got a few ideas, and I've been talking to the senior leadership team about a proposal to enhance and develop the BA function within the Cabinet Office. Hopefully that's something that we can incorporate, or can incorporate in the near future, and that hopefully will provide better training, better standards for the BAs that work within the Cabinet Office. And again, that's something that hopefully then that the wider government will be able to benefit from or be involved with as well. I've mentioned before, I'm hoping to increase our cross-collaborating with other departments. I mentioned Justice Digital, but also kind of DWP, HRC, that have also got communities of practice, and also increase our exposure to external communities outside of government. Is that how do they do it in the public sector? Well, sorry, private sector. Is there a different way that they do things that we can incorporate? And likewise, how do we do things that they can benefit from? So it's just about being more adaptable to what else is going on out there. I think that'd be quite exciting direction to take it in.
Yeah, and you know what I have to say? I think that's one of the things that I've been thinking about as well, just around having that adaptable mindset and being able to adopt is probably one of the biggest things that we should lean on as business analysts. And it's always been there, but it's probably going to be more prominent now because of all the changes that are happening around us, as you've said, AI being one of them. And also you're looking to change some of the way things are done within government as the BA profession. And I think there are a lot of, I guess, to kind of use, personal analysis language here. There's a lot of external forces kind of changing, a lot of things happening all around us that if we're not adaptable enough, we may find ourselves blown away by all the changes that are happening, to use your language. So adaptable is certainly a good thing to kind of bear in mind as we think about the future of business analysis. Matt, once again, thank you so much for coming on. I've really appreciated you coming on the podcast and really enjoyed our conversation, and really grateful that you're willing to kind of share with us kind of the insights into what it's like working in government, and hopefully people who are listening to this who might be interested in building a career in government as a BA, you're getting into government as a BA, probably have a bit of insight from yourself into, what that means and what that looks like. And also, good luck with all your initiatives that you've got in mind. Hopefully, you will see them come to fruition in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And also, if anyone is interested in working within government, if you go to civil service jobs, type in business analysis, you can set up a job alert. It will inform you every time that a BA job becomes available, and it should, if successful, it's an exciting development space to work within. Once you're in government working within the civil service, it is difficult to find something else that provides you with that drive sometimes.
Yeah, very good selling point there, Matt. Thank you so much. But no, thank you. And I really appreciate it. And good luck to everyone who applies.
Indeed. Thank you very much. But again, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you very much for the invite. I've enjoyed it immensely.